Այսօր դեմո եմ անելու իրականում, ավելի շատ քան talk։ Այնց որ մի հատ sense դեմոների ասվածներին բանենք, աղոթենք, որտեվ literally ամեն ինչ կարող fail գնա։ So սկսենք այնտեղից։ Ողջույն բոլորին, ես Antranig-ն եմ, 10 տարի զբաղվում եմ սերվերների հարցերով, այնտեղ տեսած կլինեք ինչ որ ասենք կայք եք մտնում, service եք օգտվում, դրա հետևում ինչ որ սերվերներ կան, իրանք ինչ որ գործ են անում։ Ու մոտ միշտ վերջերս մանավանդ վերջերս վախ առաջացել, որ մի ամբողջ ծերունդ է մեծանում, որ օգտվում է համացանցից, բայց ինքը համացանցի մաս չի կազմում։ Օրինակ բոլորը օգտվում են Telegram-ից, YouTube-ից, եսիմինչից, բայց իրանք անձամբ համացանցի մաս չեն։ Իսկ համացանցի մաս կազմելը իրականում շատ հեշտ է, պետք է դու ուղղակի ունես համացանցում քո տարածքը։ Այսինքն դինի մի հատ սերվեր, որտեղ որ դնում է քո content-ը եւ ինքը կարա համարյա հավերժ մնա։ Այստեղ տեսնում եմ մի քիչ նախորդ սերունդի անդամներ էլ կան։ Մենք իհարկե տեսել ենք, թե ոնց են սերվիսները մեռնում։ Վստահ եմ ձեզանից շատերը չի պատկերացնում, որ կարա մի օր YouTube-ը չլինի, բայց կարա մի օր YouTube-ը չլինի։ Օրինակ ինչպես օրինակ մեռավ Geosites-ը, մեռավ Google Photos-ը, լիքը սերվիսներ մեռան։ Ու Google-ը հայտնի է իր սերվիսները սպանելով։ Դրանց որ դրանց կարա այդ ամեն ինչը մեռնեն, բայց ինչը կարա մնա, այն ինչ որ քոնն է, իսկ եթե քոնն է, կարա համարյա հավերժ մնա։ Այսօր խոսալու եմ անձնական սերվերների մասին, այս իրականում դեմո է լինելու ու մինչև սկսել ես anyone here who doesn't understand Armenian. Pavel doesn't understand Armenian. Okay, anyone else? Okay, so I'm okay with switching to English. Anyone here who has trouble with English and it's okay. Like I suck in Russian. The only thing I know in Russian is "Я не понимаю по-русски", so I think it's fine to not know a language. Everyone knows English. Okay, great. So I'll continue in English. I prefer English actually. So I'll be talking about how to deploy your personal. Again, this is going to be a demo style. So I'm going to actually set up a server real time on a cloud provider, etc., and I'll show you the steps. This is not for people who have been maintaining servers for a couple of years. This is for anyone. This is specifically good for DevOps people who use the cloud but have never actually set up a server from scratch. Hi, Selojan. Like there are people who have configured servers with like HashiCorp, Terraform, and Monad, whatever it is, right? Nomad, but like they don't know how to actually set up a server from the scratch. So this is going to be about that. Internet is massive. It's very, very massive. But I want you to be part of the internet. So when the services die, your content is going to be still there. People are going to read your content. It's very important for people to read your content. So hopefully your server will be almost forever. Like I've seen servers that are running today, the content at least is running today, that have been around since 1997-ish. And a good example of that would be Scripting News. Which is literally the first blog on the planet. Scripting.com is the first blog on the planet that is still alive today. It's created by Dave Weiner, who created most of the blogging technologies that we know today. So apparently this blog has been running for 28 years, 8 months, 17 days, 17 hours, 10 minutes, and 0 seconds. So this is literally the oldest blog today. And Dave Weiner has done some awesome work. Like he actually created the concept of blogging. So I want you to have your place on the internet as well. So how to run a personal server? Well, it could be cloud or home server. You can have a server in your home. That's totally fine. I do that. My server is in my home, physically speaking. And a server does some basic operations. At the end of the day, I don't know what cloud providers are lying these days, like Lambda functions and VPCs. A computer has 4 basic functions. It does compute. It does things. It has a storage. It stores things. It does networking, so it can talk with other computers. And it has some basic forms of security. And if you've been to our security panel, you know that most of these security solutions actually suck. So this is the 4 basic things that a computer does, regardless if it's a cloud or whatever it is. For a home server, however, we have a podcast. It's called the Armenian Hackers Radio. Antranig here is also one of our co-hosts. So I actually gave a detailed talk on how to do homebrew servers. So how can you run your server in your home? I've been running my server in my home for 10 years. It's physically in my home. It's connected to the internet, and so it doesn't have to be on a cloud provider. And I don't want to go deep into the homebrew servers today. It would be very complicated to have a server here and then ask AUA to give us a cable. So we will not be doing that. We will be using a cloud provider for today. But the mechanics are almost the same. Obviously, running a homebrew server is more complicated, especially in Armenia, because you have to think about electricity, and literally all of the operators suck, and the variety of ranges of problems. It just can go on and go on and go on. So we'll be using a couple of things. Now, these are my personal preferences. You can use whatever you want, like there's no any commitment. So we'll be using Vultr. It's a French cloud provider that is global. It's very familiar to like DigitalOcean in case of its functionality. I use Vultr because the CTO is a friend of mine. We'll be using NameAM, again, because the CEO is a friend of mine. So NameAM is a domain provider. To be on the internet, you will need a domain name, right? So the only thing that you need ever on the internet is your domain name. And that domain name will go with you forever till the end of computers and when AI starts killing us, etc. So I'll be using FreeBSD as the base operating system. Again, this is a personal preference. I'm also, hashtag PR. I'm also a FreeBSD advocate and a developer. So I literally contribute to the FreeBSD project, and it's very important for me to use FreeBSD almost everywhere. And well, we'll be deploying some applications. So let's see how are we going to do that. So we'll start with NameAM again. This is a demo, so bear with me. You'll need an account. Congratulations. And one of the good things about NameAM, and I love that this thing that they're doing, is they can give you the .hi domains. Anyone here has ever seen a website with .hi? Okay, so I see some people who have not. So you can have Unicode domains, right? So there's .hi, which is hi for Armenian, whoever is not hi as in, marijuana and stuff, but that's fine as well. I'm not judging, just complaining. So .hi domains are free on name.am, the domain provider. They give each user one .hi domain for free. I think that's a good way to increase the distribution of these kind of domains. So we'll be using that. I already registered a domain, and they also have some good things like DNS provider, etc., etc. So it's good enough. So I have a lot of domains in here. So bear with me. I'm so sorry that I have these many domains. Like it's just I'm spending way too much money on domains. But we'll be using tech.hi. Tech as in technology, tech.hi, we'll be using that. For some reason, I also own hell.am, just in case you ever need to redirect that somewhere. So yeah, we'll be using tech.hi. So this has been around with me for a while, but I've never used it, never configured it. So we'll start with the basic configuration. And the minimum thing that we need is to set up a DNS configuration for our system. So a DNS is basically this domain equals to that IP. That's what DNS is. That's all you need to know. So we will be configuring our basic DNS configuration. So tech.hi will point to our server that we will have on Vultr. So I'm going to change and let me change this to English as well, I guess. Okay, good. So we'll not be using name servers. I do that, but you don't have to. So we'll be using DNS records. We'll just click here and say use DNS hosting, and it just will do some stuff in the backend, hopefully, and that's it. Now we just have to wait until it applies. And for you to know that it has been applied, we will need a terminal, because you will always need a terminal. You can do a basic whois of your domain. So my domain is tech.hi. And the Armenian is not good in here, damn it. And let's see if it has been changed. It has been changed. So NameAM is providing us with Cloudflare DNS. Good. But it might have not actually changed. So a good way to do that is to do dig plus trace. So you're tracing the whole query, and you can give it your domain. In this case, it's going to be, I don't think I can do it with the Armenian letters, but let's try just in case. Tech.hi, that does not work. So we will need to convert the Unicode letters, and I picked a Unicode letter today in purpose because I want you to see the problems that you might have while using a Unicode domain. So we have a basic utility on all Unix systems. It's called IDN2. It means International Domain Names. The 2 is the version of the software, nothing else. And we can give it the domain name that we want. So it will be my keyboard, it does not agree with me, tech.hi. So this is what the domain looks like for a computer, right? It's very weird, I know, but this is what the domain looks like for a computer. I think we need a better way to, yeah, there you go. So I'm going to put both of these on a side because we will need them a lot during this talk. So let's put it on some sticky notes. That's the Unicode Punicode version. And this is the Armenian version. Great. So now we can use this as our base for analysis. So now we can do things like dig plus trace, but now it will work, right? Oh, as you can see, the domain information has been changed to Cloudflare. So now we can start using our domain. Next thing we will need is our server. Here is Vultr, and here are some of my servers. Again, I'll be using FreeBSD. I did pre-configure the server. The server costs $10 a month, so it's not that expensive. It's cheaper than buying 3 coffees. So just in case People keep complaining personal server is expensive. No, it's cheaper than buying coffee in most cities on the planet. Like, do that. Just buy a goddamn server. The coffee will go, but the server will stay. So please buy a server instead. Anyway, this is in Amsterdam. It has some IP addresses and some root configuration, etc., etc. So I'll be connecting to this server. So the best way to do this is, well, first of all, has any of you seen a connection that looks like this? If I do that, have you ever seen this? This, okay, raise your hand very, very big. Okay, who has ever pressed yes? Keep it up. Okay, who has not pressed yes? Take your hand down. So so everyone is doing it. Do you know what this is? So this is the same as opening a website that says the SSL is not verified. It's literally the same thing. That's saying that the SSL is not verified. Yes, that's how SSH works. You know when you open a website, like a very old website, like I have no idea, is gov.am an old website, you know? What? Let's do that, hackershell.com. Oh, is that broken? Translator.am? Translator, I guess. Right? No, this is not broken. This is all good. So it's working. You can see, like this one is not secure. But if, like there are domains that are secure, there are domains that are not secure, and then you will get a window that says, this is a not secure connection. This is that exact same thing. Never press yes if you don't know what you're doing. You could easily be targeted. So the way to fix that is actually very easy. You should have some kind of a console access to your server. So here I can have a console access to my server. Yay. And you will see my root password right now, but don't try to hack into it, please. Because this is just a temporary server anyway. So I'll be going in as root. I will do like a copy password, and I have no idea how computers work, obviously. And we'll try to paste this in. Paste. Okay, great. So, and now I should be able to log in. There we go. So I'm now logged in. So the only way to verify that you are connecting to the right machine is by looking at your current server's credentials. And I think a good way to do that would be to cat the following file, which is etc sshd. I suck in computers. Let's try one more time. This is a root shell, so it's never good. SSH, sorry, not SSD. And here we will have, oh, there we go. Here are our, so SSH host something.pub, right? These are our public keys. And it has to match with these public keys to know that we are connecting to the right server. Otherwise, you are not connecting to the right server. And this one is in, what is that? PP4RNNG or something. So hopefully that one is in here. And I can't seem to find it properly. I think there's a better way to do that, which is with SSH keygen -I. Nope. See, this is why you'd never do a demo, because things break down. So let's see. It would be one of the key parameters to show that. But long story short, I think it will also be saved if I do it locally. Locally is secure. SSH localhost. Okay, good. 4RNNG, because it's locally, it's secure. 4RNNG. Okay, it's definitely the same because we're doing with localhost. So now I know that I'm connecting to the right machine. I can do yes. Obviously, we'll get a timeout because it's been a long time. But now I can log into this machine. Great. Now this one did connect with my SSH keys. I recommend that you close the connection via the password authentication. That's usually not good, and it's very easy to do. You'll go to the SSHD configuration and go to PAM, which is the PAM authentication in here, and change use PAM to no. This would be the easiest way to do. There are other ways to do as well. And now it will not be using the pluggable authentication module. It will rely purely on SSH, and now if we ever try to connect with a password, it won't even work. So even if a user exists, like tour, it does exist, and oh, sorry, my key is in there. I totally forgot. And also, we do need to restart the server. Thank you. So we do need also to restart the server. Root, not the server, the service. Let's get our terminology right. So SSHD, D restart. So now it's good. Let's see what will happen next. I know that root and tour are the same, so I'll just go and use any other user. Like I think we have a user called time limit until what's that? What's 17? Okay, sounds good to me. There's a user named FTP as far as I can tell. So, and it will just not work with passwords anymore, basically, even if you get the password right. So we have that. That's good. So let's go back to our basic thing. So what we will try to do next, we want to attach our domain to our server. That's the bare minimum that we want to do. So let's copy our domains, our server's IP, and just point tech hi to that IP address. This is the bare minimum that we can do in here, and we can just do now add, and it should work. Fingers crossed. There we go. Okay, so now if we do a digging again, so I'll just do a dig on my machine. Now we have an IP address, which is great. Now we have an IP address. So technically now you should be able to connect with the domain as well if you want to. So you should be able to do like this, and then log in root, and you should be able to log into your machine. Now SSH might come out and say things like, I don't know this thing. Maybe it's not secure, but then it also tells you that, okay, but it matches that IP address that I have found before, because I have agreed before. So, okay, let's go into that as well. Awesome. Okay, so this is the bare minimum. Minimum utilities that we will need is a PKG. That's our package manager. So we'll be doing package install, and I always recommend having tmux on your server. If you don't have tmux on your server, you'll be having a hard time. So what tmux is, it's a terminal server. It's a terminal server. So there's a server that's running that acts as a terminal to connect to it. Yes, a multiplexer, that's why it's called tmux. So when you connect to tmux, now you have your server and you have your terminal. Let's say now you need 2 terminals. Instead of doing multiple connections, you can do, split the screen into multiple parts. So this is the basics of tmux. We'll be using it a lot today. Let's see what our presentation says. I have no idea what are we doing next. So we got the domain, we got Vultr, great. So it's, the bare minimum of a server that we will need. And next comes the operating system. So the current operating system that I'm using is FreeBSD. Also this year, actually like 1 week ago, was FreeBSD's 30th anniversary. It's the longest running open source project at this point. So the reason why I chose FreeBSD is actually multiple reasons. First, it has a containerization utility that is very powerful, but at the same time very usable. It's called jails. And another one is it has an amazing file system that is called ZFS. Both of these technologies have been innovated in the 90s and then the 2000s, but they are very, I hate when specifically JavaScript developers, they look for the latest technology. I'm like, no, I don't want the latest. I want the stablest, the one that has been tested the most. So that's what FreeBSD is for me. It's the most stable Unix operating system. Basically. So let's see. So we got the domain, we got the server. Now we will set up the storage. So FreeBSD has 2 kind of file systems. If we look at the disk in here, let's say we do gpart show for our partitions, we can see that there is a FreeBSD machine with 55 gigabytes of storage. Now this is enough for us, but it's using UFS. UFS is an okay file system. Actually, the creator of UFS is the creator of file systems. Like he literally created the concept of file systems. That would be Marshall McCusick, who is still working on FreeBSD. So we'll be using ZFS. And one of the benefits of cloud technologies, and I have to say that I love that, is that you can attach a storage to your machine. And that, I think, is awesome. So we will be creating a separate drive with whichever size we want, and we'll be attaching our storage to that. So it will be at a block storage. Yes, thank you. I hate S3, block forever. I will be having it in the same data center, so that would be Amsterdam. And let's say I want something around, this is way too much, by the way, like way too much. Let's say 100 or something. There we go. Yeah, so 100 gigabytes would be way more than you would need for your personal server. I'm going to label it tech.am storage tech.am. Great. So I'm just going to add the block storage. Thank you, Vultr, for being very fast. And it should be done by now. 3, 2, 1.
0,
minus, yeah, you know he does QA when and testing when he can actually do that. Okay, so great, we have that now ready. So I'm going to attach this to our instance. It might need a restart. I don't know, because computers are complicated. Let's connect it to that. Are you sure you want to attach? Attach. Yes, thank you. Please do attach. So now it says that it's attached. Okay, so let's see if we get anything like that on our server. So we can see the kernel messages to see what happened on our server. We can do dmessage, and it says, oh, there's a new virtual device that I found. Great, it's that in size. Okay, so what we can do with it? Well, we will need to configure ZFS and stuff. So if we do gport show, you will not see it yet. So first of all, we will need to put ZFS on it. So that would be zpool create. So create. So that's the creation of a pool. And on this pool, I'm going to create, let's say, I have no idea how the syntax is. This is the good part of documentation. Okay, so we give it, first of all, the pool name. I'm going to name it zdata. And then the device itself. So device is going to be dev vtblk1. vtblk1. blk? Yes, it's virtual block. vtbl. Why can't I seem to find it? vt. Maybe it has a different name. Again, never do demos while you are here.
Oh, there's a D.
Maybe it's not in dev.
It should be in dev. It should be in dev, but what I'm guessing is grep blk vt. So we have the vtp. Oh yeah, it's vtbd1. vtbd1. Okay, that's great. So zpool create zdata, and that consists of dev vtbd1. Okay, great. So vtbd0 is our system, vtbd1 is our storage. And create, it should say it's done, so ZFS list. Now we have our data, which is mounted in zdata. So now whatever we put in here is going to be on that custom storage. This is actually good. So in case your server ever corrupts, the data can be moved from a system to another. It's like your portable flash drive, but just much faster. So okay, we have the basics done in here. What I want to do next is, according to my slides at least, is having basic security. We did the SSH stuff. That's good. A home page. We'll need a home page. Every person should have a home page. You will be so happy when you get your home page one day. So I have my personal home page. It's on antranigv.am, and this is what my home page looks like. I know I'm very good in HTML and CSS. Thank you very much. It's just dope. But this is not an XML. This is not HTML CSS. By the way, just FYI, I created this whole website in a GUI. So I have an XML system and an XML program. So who here has ever used XML? Who here has also used JSON? More people. So JSON sucks, just FYI. XML is still the god of standards. You can program XML. You can program XML. And that's something that you still cannot do with JSON. I cannot believe that JSON won. Yeah. So anyway, and 20 years later, we'll have like BSON, and everyone will be using that, and then some guy like Antranig will come and say, no, JSON was good. So it's the endless war of yeah, I know, right? Of format. So longer story short, so this is my homepage. We're going to try to have a homepage like this. So what I'm using to open my homepage is a browser, also known as an HTTP client. So what I'm going to need is an HTTP server. So my favorite HTTP server is actually Nginx. So I'm just going to do the basics, pkg install Nginx, and we'll just see it being installed. Awesome, great, it's done. Now I have Nginx, great. So I'm going to need to enable Nginx, obviously. So we'll do service Nginx. Can you guess? Enable, yes. Now it's enabled, and now we also need to start it. So service Nginx start should get the job done. And if we have done everything right, fingers crossed. Let's pray to the demo gods, and I go to tech.hi. We should have Nginx is here. Thank you very much. We have a page. Great. Okay. So next, we'll need to modify this page because this is Nginx stuff with our own content. So the basic way to do that, let's say we go to zdata because that's where our data is, and we can do, for example, let's say, and before we create a directory, I want to create a data set. So I can do ZFS list. The current data set that I have is called zdata. So I want my home page to be in a separate location. This is the awesome thing about ZFS. If you have a storage system and you're not using ZFS, then you don't care about your data. Literally every other file system sucks. Believe me, I've seen them. So yeah. So I'm going to start with a basic data set. I'm going to call that zdata/homepage for our homepage. Create zdata homepage. I have to get better in writing.
It's not writing, it's typing.
Typing, thank you. So now we have our home page. If I do ZFS list, we can see that we have our homepage location. Now I can go to, ZData homepage and start writing here, for example, index.html, the basic one. And, we can do the basics in here, which will be P. Actually, let's do an H1. Welcome to my homepage.
101.
And greetings from Barcamp. Which year is this? EVN 2023. As you can see, I'm a time traveler. So this is the bare minimum of a web page that you would ever need. Great. And now we'll go to Nginx to configure the basic needs. So we'll go to, here's the beautiful part. So in Linux operating systems, all your configuration gets dumped to etc. That's not the way that it ever was. Linux is the only operating system that does that. So in every other Unix operating system, you have a proper hierarchy of the system, right? So if you've installed Nginx, the Nginx command will never be in bin, because that's where the operating system utilities are. Instead, the Nginx command is going to be in user local sbin, because everything that's user local is local. It's for you. It's not for the operating system. So now you can understand what's from the operating system and what's for you in a very separate way. I have no idea why Linux won. It sucks.
So in the Linux directory structure is not correct?
It's not just not correct, it's bad. There's no concept of correct. It's just bad. Like you have your operating system things and your custom things all in a single location, and you don't know what is what. Anyway, so here we have proper hierarchies, which means our configuration is going to be in user local etc. Great, Nginx. And now we'll have with our basic configuration. This is our Nginx configuration. It's JSON-like. Actually, this format does have a name. It's called UCL, Universal Configuration Language. It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. There is a library to use UCL. I actually even wrote one in Oberon. It's a perfect language. It's a perfect language for your configuration. Way better than JSON, indeed. So we'll create our basic things here. So we'll have a basic server. I guess this is a server close. Yes, it is. Great. So we'll have a server that listens on the port 80 for. I keep forgetting about the goddamn that. Okay. Programmers and sysadmins alike. And it will listen to, what's the next configuration? A server name, obviously. It will listen to server name. And here where our server name is supposed to be tech high, but obviously Nginx doesn't know Unicode and stuff that well. So we'll be using the IDN version of that. So we put our server name that it's supposed to listen on, and we'll have, okay, so on our location slash, I want you to have the root at zdata/homepage, great, with the index file being index.html, HTML, close our location and close our server. If everything is correct, always do nginx-t for testing. It says it's great, thank you very much Nginx, and now I can do service nginx reload. And it should be reloaded. Let's see what happens if I come now. If Safari works, welcome to my homepage. Now we have our basic homepage. This is awesome. Okay, so what else can we do with our homepage? Well, I personally am a huge fan of mobile phones, not the ones that are popular, but still, I mean, all of the mobile phones suck, but still. So one of the biggest problems that I have is that I have an iPhone, a lot of people have Android. How do we share contact information? Today I've seen it all around Barcamp. People go like, can you give me your phone number? Can you give me your, we're wasting human hours on typing the same email and phone number over and over again. I came up with a basic solution. On my homepage, there's actually a file, a literal file that is, where the hell is my literal file? A vCard. That's a thing. It exists, vCard, right? And when you click on it, it opens the details of everything that I have. So, including date of birth or whatever else I do have, So everything I have will be in here. So let's see if I do import, for example, and it would be in something called Antranig. So all of my info would be in that single card. And we can actually have a look at that card as well. If we go to, it was in downloads, I guess, LTR, cat, Antranig, Vartanian virtual card. So it has all of my information, such as my website, my work website, my nickname, because I do have a nickname, my image as well, my company organization, my title, everything is in here as someone would ever need on their mobile phone. They just have to click on the link, regardless of anything, it will work, it's awesome. So you can, for example, let's say you can go to a website, let's say like vCard generator. That's one option that you can do. But another option is actually going to your contact application on your device, such as here, and you can do things like, I'm guessing, export vCard. There you go. So you can export the vCard of your own contact. Okay, that's awesome. So let's say export vCard, and then it will say, where do you want this? Let's say I want this on my home. No, not the disk. My home. God damn it. Jerry, my home, great, and now I can do save, and now my vCard is saved. So now I have the basics in here. So another thing that I can do, obviously, is SCP, and now I want to upload that file to my server as a basic example. So I can do Antranig Vartanian. The vCard will be uploaded to our server. What's the server IP address? Anyone remembers? I have no idea. Okay, it's this one. So root at that server address / zdata. What?
SCP could be used with domain.
Yes, but I don't know if it's going to understand the Unicode part. I'm very, very, very worried about.
Okay,
Yeah, we can try. That's a good point. Let's do. Let's see what happens. Zdata homepage / me.vcf. Yes. Okay, and let's see if it works. If it works, oh, great. Thank you. So now we have that as well. So for example, now in our homepage, let's go to our homepage, Zdata homepage. We can do index, and now here we can do p. If you want to get in touch, please have a look at my business card. I know, right? It's so professional. My business card on a very basic HTML website that looks like and feels like the 90s. So I will have a link to that, which is going to be me.vcf, I guess. And that's pretty much it. And now I hate HTML. I absolutely do, but it's fine. It's okay. I mean, it was created in what, like a couple of days? So, I mean, I also blame Jamie Zavinsky for doing most of the things here. So let's see what happened. I have no idea. So it says okay, and if we click, we have the yay, great. So now anyone can have my contact card. Mwah, bless the internet. I don't have to type my phone number millions of times again. So this is a basic idea of what you can have. But this is not enough, in my opinion. You need the best thing that has ever been invented, like I showed you in the beginning, which is a blog. Every person needs to have a blog. If you're a developer, you need a blog. I don't want to see it your GitHub. I want to see your blog. I want to see how you write. I want to see how you communicate. Your code is not meaningful. Well, and it is, but not in the aspect of understanding what you do. So we'll be also setting up a basic SSL/TLS because, I mean, come on, it's 2023, and this is going to be very simple and easy, and you're going to love it. I'm going to use a utility called acme.sh. Which does use Let's Encrypt behind the knees, so we'll go with Acme, the basic stuff. So again, pkg install acme.sh. And yes, I want to install these packages, and it's done. Great. So I'm going to do acme.sh. Help would be a good idea. So you can see what's happening in the system. Set mouse on. So you can see what you can do with acme.sh. So basically, I want to issue a new certificate. So to do that, I'm going to need to do acme.sh --issue for the domain. Now we need our Punycode because it doesn't understand Unicode for this thing. And let's say if you give it a web root, like where your index is, it will do it all for you automatically. So let's say my root is at, where is my root? Zdata homepage. That's it. And it needs an account setup. This is a new thing, but we're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to go and search for, apparently, acme.sh, use Let's Encrypt. Because there are now multiple Let's Encrypts, quote unquote. There's zero SSL, etc. But I still trust in Let's Encrypt, to be honest. It seems a lot more effective these days. Yes, it will generate. Yeah, there are multiple companies and organizations now that will give you a free SSL other than Let's Encrypt. There's zero SSL. There's a couple of ones in Finland that will give it only to Finnish people, so it depends on where you are. But Let's Encrypt is still the biggest one out there. And well, thank you GitHub for having a wiki, and this is the man page that we need. Okay, great. So set default CA server. This is apparently what we needed. Okay, now it worked. Let's hope it continues. So let's try again. And registering account, domain. etc. If you're not Armenian, the M thing is an Armenian thing. We change every word with an M. Domain, momain, hagop, magop. So, okay, so now we have our certificates. You're done. Now you have SSL. Congratulations. Stop paying thousands of dollars for other SSL solutions. Congratulations. But we will need to also use this, obviously. So we'll do acme.sh. I have no idea how to do this, by the way. I have all of this automated, like from 5 years ago. So, So let's see how that goes. So we'll do an install certificate, I guess. And then we'll need to do a domain. And that's our domain. Nope, that's not our domain. We'll need to do the domain thing. So that's our domain. Great. And then we'll need to do, I'm guessing, key file. Yes. In, let's say, a location. So I'm going to create a location. It's going to be user local SSL tech high, something like that. Okay. So it's going to be in user local SSL tech high, and this is my key, so it's going to be key.pem. Great. And we will also need our full chain, so full chain file would go into where? User local SSL tech full chain.pem. So I assume this would work. Unknown parameter install. I'm guessing it's cert, not certificate. Okay, that was correct. Okay, so now we have the certificates installed. Last bit would be, of course, obviously configuring Nginx to do all of that. So we'll have here a server that listens on, who can tell on which port? 443, thank you. And we have a server name, again, the same thing. And then we'll have, I have no idea what these parameters are. I'm guessing certificate something. I think the good thing about, there we go, certificate, SSL certificate and SSL certificate key. Great, thank you, documentation. So SSL certificate, and we'll have another one which is called, I know, I'm just automating the hell out of it. Stop bothering me. SSL certificate key, okay, great. And it will be in user, let's start with the top one. User local SSL. Help me out here, guys. Tech.high slash, this is the certificate. So full chain, yes, .pm. Okay, so, and we'll need this thing to be gone. And we'll need this thing copied, and we'll paste it here. And this one will change to full chain key, thank you. Key.pem. Okay, so hopefully this was right, and we can continue doing that. And now we'll have the rest almost the same. So location would be in root. We'll have our root, which is at zdata homepage, great. And our index, which is at index.html, great. Why do I keep doing the same mistake all over again? Okay, great. And finally, we can close our server. So hopefully, this is correct. Hopefully. Yes, it is. And let's do service reload. Let's see if it did work. So we will have to go to our website, but this time in this way. Yes, it's secured. Now we have a secure homepage on the internet. Congratulations, you just got that part too. A short tutorial in what?
In Armenian.
Yeah. So now that we have all of this, a last bit, and I always recommend this, is make sure that you redirect the traffic from the non-HTTPS to the HTTPS. For security purposes. So we'll do return, what's the permanent return code? 301 to HTTPS. And here you can use Unicode, by the way. So tech.high/close.
I think this could be made by short tutorial in Armenian if necessary.
So other people to have a look at well. And now it redirects. Great. So now we have our basics. But this was very, very, very basic things that I hope many of you have done as well. So next, to the more complex stuff. What about containers? Because now we're going to start deploying complex applications like Git servers and blogs and stuff. Well, I gave a talk, I think 2 years ago, about building a cloud with FreeBSD, but that was very low level. It was very, very much low level. I will not be giving that talk today. Instead, at the last part of that talk, I promised you that I'm going to open source my jail manager. So we wrote a tool that is very similar to Docker. It's written in shell, pure shell, not even bash. It's in pure shell, and it manages containers on FreeBSD. So today I'll be using that instead of using FreeBSD jails as low level as possible. It's called Jailer. It has a very cute logo that I made on my iPad. So please be thankful for that. As you can see, my HTML and logo skills are kind of the same. So we'll be using Jailer. And Jailer is actually a very basic utility. What? You're jailed by my jailers, which means you're a process. So we'll be using Jailer. We'll be needing the basic things. So we'll be using pkg install git, obviously. And git is very, very massive. Did you know that git is very, very massive? We'll be using pkg install git lite. Because we don't. No, the package naming here is not the same as Debian and stuff. So now we'll do git. And first, let's do git clone. Clone was it? Yeah. So let's do that. Okay. So now we have Jailer. Let's go into Jailer. Great. And now we can do make install because we're old school like that. Okay. I hope it worked. I have no idea. Rehash. Let's see if it did. Oh, this is pure shell. Okay. So Jailer. It does exist. Great. So Jailer does exist. Now we'll start by initializing it. So I'll be doing Jailer init. By the way, this is the first ever public demo of Jailer in a talk. So Jailer init, I wonder if it has any help. Okay, so it has some info. Oh, great. So it does give you options. So let's see. So Jailer will create a data set at zdatajails with the mount point at user local jails. Okay? Yes. Done. Okay, so now it created everything that we need to create a FreeBSD jail, any kind of a container. So this is great. So let's go for the next one. Thank you for choosing Jailer. I know I'm choosing my own utility, right? So Jailer list, it will say there's nothing in here. So we'll need to initiate a, let's see what else it has. Actually, this is a good one. It says run Jailer init info to check system status. Okay, Jailer init info to check system status. It says, oh, if you want Jailer to auto-configure your bridge interfaces, run Jailer init bridge. Okay, I wrote this, but I have no idea what it does, by the way. Yeah, so bridge, and now it says, I will create a new switch with this following IP address. Okay, that sounds interesting. Okay, yes. And okay, now we have a bridge. Now we have internal networking. Now we have what people call SDN, software-defined networking, in our system in here. So now we have the bridge, and it did give me another message. It says, if you want to set up a DHCP server, run this command. We'll not be doing DHCP today. Okay, so now we have the basics in here done. This sounds awesome. Let's continue. We'll start by doing Jailer image list. Do we have any images? We don't. So we'll need to fetch an image. So Jailer image fetch. It will now download a FreeBSD operating system image. I don't know how long this will take, by the way. So let's see how it does. So the main difference between Jailer and Docker is that, well, Jailer is for managing long-term jails, right? In case of Docker, you don't run a Docker forever. You run a Docker, and then it dies, and then you create it again, and then a new version comes out. So a Docker is more like cattle. It's like a bunch of cows. You don't care about them. Jailer is more like pets, right? You care about each jail specifically. So there's a difference. It's not there's like bad or good or bad. It's just they have a different philosophy. The next version of Jailer will have the cattle Docker philosophy as well. So okay, now we have an image. Jailer, what do we want to do? Jailer image list. We have FreeBSD 13.2 installed. Great. Now we can create an image out of that. So what do we want to do next? Well, we want to do a blog, just like it was FreeBSD's 30th anniversary this month. It's also WordPress's 20th anniversary this month. So two of the best operating systems and blogging software are having a hell of a good time. Congratulations to them. Who here has ever used WordPress? I do wonder. We have some people. Okay, great. So I've had very bad feelings about WordPress for a long time. Around the version 5, it became so bad. And then I'm like, let me try this again. And in version 6, it became so good. And like, I cannot believe that. Really? I don't think so. I might. I have no idea. Yeah. So yeah, that's WordPress. So we'll deploy WordPress now in a very simple way. So we'll start by deploying our actual container, right? So we'll need to do Jailer create, and I don't know how this works because I wrote it. Help. now we can see some configuration on how to use it. So apparently I will need a version, okay. -n does something, which is makes it less noisy. We don't care about that. And we also have -d for a domain. We do care about that. And the bridge, we do care about that. And the network interfaces. Okay, so I'm going to do this as fast as I can. So I'm going to do jailer create, and let's see if it creates it fast. This is the first, public demo of creating jailer GLs. Create version, maybe I can even leave it empty. I'm guessing I can. So I'm just going to say a type of the network interface. I want it to be a EB for e-pair bridge. If you don't know what that is, check the talk from 2 years ago. And I'm going to need to give it a I'm guessing a IP address. So I'm going to give it 10.0.0.10/24. Okay, and I'm going to give it a name. So I'm going to call it blog. Right, I'm going to call it blog. I'm going to call it blog, and hopefully this works. I'm not sure. So, fingers crossed. Here's a good one. I think Jailer has a demo mode. It has dry run with a -D capital. If I do a dry run, we should be able to see what it would do. There you go. So this is what Jailer would do if you run that command. So we also have a dry run mode. I have no idea why I created that. So, okay, let's see. Creating blog. And is the Jailer creation?
I don't have.
What?
This is like what I don't have on my server.
And now it's done. So now we have
Tutorial is starting.
a jail. Now we have an operating system inside of our operating system. This is not Docker. This is not a virtual machine. This has been around for 25 years, and it works kind of okay. I'll be honest with you, because I know the internals. I know all the problems it has. But yeah, it works fine. Yes, sir.
So every application requires its own operating system.
No, you can decide. Like, let me show you my server, right? I have my server. It's called Pingvinashen. So my best practice is to have everything separate. So if I show you my server,
So you have a base operating system which runs virtual.
which runs nothing except FreeBSD, and I have a list of jails. I have my blog, my Git server, my automation server. Yeah, everything is in its own separate jail. Yeah. So
Best practice.
that's my best practice. That's my best practice, like based on my deployment of applications. Okay, so let's come back here, and now we have a blog named, not a blog, now we have a container named blog with its own IP address, and it has a gateway. Let's go into it. So Jailer console blog, and now we're inside blog, right? So if I do ifconfig now, the IP address is different, etc., etc. I can talk with the machine that's running myself, so I can ping 10.0.0.1. By the way, if you have a 0 in your IP address, you don't have to write it, right? I can talk with 10.0.0.1, great. But can I talk with the internet? That's the good question. I have no idea. Let's see if we can. So what if I try to ping 9999? Apparently I can't. So I also have to configure a very basic way to make internet accessible to our machines. Now, I'm not sure, but I think Jailer might have a way to do that, because this is a very, this software gets modified every month because it's in heavy development. So let's see, jailnet list. Okay, so we have some basic facilities. Luckily, Jailer does have a long documentation on what to do and how to do it. And because I have some kind of Alzheimer's, as far as I can tell, it would be good if I can just, not also, it's Alzheimer's, when you're such an asshole that you start forgetting all the bad things that you've done. So we have some basic concepts in here. So, okay, so I do have some documentation, which is good. And the basic idea here is copy this, put it there. Okay, let's do that. Done. And then enable a something something. Okay, I'll do that. That's also done. Don't copy paste code off the internet. I wrote this, so I trust myself, I think. Then enable your firewall, apparently. Okay, that's my firewall enabled. Great. What else do I need to do? Run something something. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this to here and paste it, but I'm going to also need to modify the etcpf.conf to make it right. So this is supposed to be, what's our interface name? VTnet0, VTnet0. I think this should work. I'm not sure, but I think it should work. also in here. NAT on VTNet0. Okay, so we're NATing on VTNet0 from our internal address to anywhere. Done. So let's try this. Service PF start. It works. Okay, and let's go to our machine. What did we call that? The jail. And do we have internet access now? Yes, we do. Now we can access the internet from our container that is inside our infrastructure. Okay, now we have the basics. What do we want? We want WordPress, pkg install, WordPress. I'm guessing that there is a package called WordPress. Maybe there is not. I have no idea. But what you can do, a pro tip, is you can go into here and modify.
Does it require SSL also or not?
What?
Does it require again SSL?
Who does?
I mean, the jailed OS with its WordPress.
No, we'll be doing that from the Nginx that we deployed in the front. So we'll be fine. So we can change the quarterly to latest, which means latest. I have to really latest. Okay, great. So now it will use the most updated packages. So let's do package pkg update. Hopefully this works fine. And come on, good boy. Be fast, good boy. Are you working, good boy? I have no idea. I think I have a personal modification that I have to do that usually you don't, but I have also this is, kind of personal data center at Volter. So rx csum minus tx csum. Go on. Okay, great. Okay, it should work faster now. Okay. We have an internal networking platform that we use as well. It might not play very well with the current system. Okay, so
To set up this all in Ubuntu?
yes, you can, of course. That's what I said in the beginning. Like, there's no personal preferences. I just prefer this techniques.
Because Xilinx tool doesn't work on BSD at all.
What?
Xilinx tool doesn't work on BSD at all.
Who here cares about Xilinx tools?
Me, because I use that.
The problem is that Xilinx doesn't know how to do software development because they're a hardware company. If they did, they would have been able to write software that's portable, Okay, so now we have WordPress in here. We can actually do pkg install WordPress, and it will actually install WordPress with all of its dependencies that you would ever need. So I don't want to go too deep into this part of deployment. I'm 100% sure that there are like millions of articles on the internet, like let's say FreeBSD WordPress. I'm sure there's even something in my history and bookmarks. Like, there's even content in my history and bookmarks on how to do all of this. So I'm not going to go into deep, but I just wanted to show you how you can isolate your server into multiple environments using containers that are not Docker, so it doesn't act as kettle, but rather as pets. So these are long-term running systems. Now, the last bit that I want to show you is there are things that you can do on your professional level, like a Git server. This is actually very, very, very useful. I've been running my own Git server for a very long time. It's I'm personally using Gitea. You can use whatever you want. This is this is in my own physical home, running a Git server that is also publicly accessible to the internet. And the reason why I use this, you can even see the FreeBSD source code, the actual operating system in here. You can see my jailer, the list goes on. So the reason why I care very much about this is I've seen companies whose whole operation stops because Slack is down or GitHub is down. So I try to at least maintain my own thing. So if ever these public services go down, you can still continue working on your own systems. And the beauty of Git, in case you didn't know, who here has ever used SVN?
Yeah.
Okay, so Git is really distributed. So it doesn't matter if the code is on GitHub or on like foobar bus. It doesn't matter. SVN was like that. If you had SVN on one server, it will take you weeks to copy that same server to another SVN server. It was almost impossible to do. Git is awesome. I hate it, but still, it's awesome. You can do a lot of... The syntax is just terrible. Like, who the hell calls it a checkout to a branch and a checkout to a... It's like... What? No, not like that. Like in Git, it's called clone, but it's actually a checkout. In every other terminology, it's called a checkout, not a clone. And then they use checkout to check in. So it's very weird. Anyways, so yeah, you can do that, and I think it's awesome. So this is I'm running on my own home server in a jail, just like I showed you today. So that's one thing that you can do as from a developer perspective. So let's see what else we can do. So the other last bit that I want to show you is ZFS snapshots. Do you remember I told you how ZFS is awesome? It really is, and I wish more people knew about it. So let's see what happened here after deploying some WordPress and some home pages. So apparently my what is that called? My jail that is named blog is how much in size? 2 gigabytes, right? Because PHP. So it's now the size of it is 2 gigabytes. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to snapshot this. So in case it ever corrupts, I can restore it back to the old state. So this is 2 gigabytes of data, and I can take that ZFS. Yes. So now I can do now ZFS snapshot, and I'm going to snap this ZData jails blog image, and I'm going to name it, let's say, after WordPress. So I'm going to name it after WordPress. And this is 2 gigabytes, and I need to snapshot it. It's done. Now 2 gigabytes of data has been snapshotted. You can go and check in. So if you ever have ransomware and the ransomware corrupts your files, you can just bring the files back. You can just roll back to the old stuff. So one way to do that is I can do, let's say, jail stop blog. Now the blog jail is going to get stopped. Great. Now I want to roll back to the old state, right? So let's see what's happening in here. Jail list type all, right? So I can see that after WordPress and the base are different a bit, right? So post install and post WordPress are different a bit. So I want to roll back, not after WordPress. I want to roll back to the base. Just it was after install. So I can do ZFS rollback, fingers crossed. I hope this works, because we usually don't need to do rollbacks. Our servers are secure. And it will say that if I do one snapshot, it's going to get deleted. I'm like, okay, I don't care about the after WordPress because it got hacked and it's not in a good place. It's very sad. I'm like, okay, so let's actually delete that. So go. Now it's going to go back. And now if we do ZFS list dash all, it went back to the base state. So what happens if I do jailer start blog? It should technically work. Fingers crossed. Yes. But if I go now into the blog and do pkg info, you can see there's no more packages, nothing else in there, because I was able to roll back. And I snapshotted and rolled back gigabytes of data in matter of milliseconds. So this is the beautiful part of ZFS. And then you can also automate this stuff, for example.
Okay.
What?
I don't mind how it could be possible to transfer the amount of bits through the SATA tree.
Okay. One sec. And on my home server, I have a script that does this every night. So every night I get a snapshot of my operating system and my jails and everything. So if something ever gets corrupted, I can just roll back as I need. So this is the overall idea of why you should have a home server with proper tooling and everything. Don't use Lambda functions for a home server. So yes, anything else that you want, do actually ask me. I will love to answer it. And thank you very much. Okay, let's go one by one. Seroj, your point was?
How ZFS could be that much faster?
Because everything else sucks that much. It's not that ZFS is awesome. It's that everything else is so old that it hasn't been, like XT4. From the philosophy of the file system itself, like the modern way of having proper file systems on Linux is either using is either using LVM2 or using BetterFS. BetterFS gets corrupted so frequently you have no idea. And LVM2 is it has an old code base. And the philosophy of LVM2 is based on servers that were around in the 80s. ZFS was released in 2004 with a group of people who were managing terabytes of data in the 2000s. So they knew what the hell they're doing.
Okay, so what is the language is different, the software development methodology?
No, the creators were smart. No. The creators of ZFS were smart. It's just as simple as that.
So the people.
Yeah, the people. All that matters is the people. Yes, sir.
I have a couple questions, but for name AM, the .high domain.
Yes.
Is it, do you need an Armenian passport or
As far as I know, I don't know. I'm so sorry. So back in the day, because I had my first domain, which is pingvinashen.am, in 2012. And back in those days, they did actually ask for a passport. Now I don't know how the situation is, but what I do know is that it is manual verification. The reason why there is not a lot of spam or scam in .am is that every domain gets verified. Anna Karakhanian wakes up every morning and looks at whatever .am and .hi domains are getting registered, and she looks like, this is iCloud.am. This is a spam, rejected. You know, and like she does that every goddamn day. So I don't know about the passport part, but I do know that you have to wait for a manual verification of a couple of hours. TK is like, you know, the most scamish these days. Anyone else? Any questions? I would love to answer. Yes, sir.
I have a little bit different question. What is your hosting, such as they may provide that's free, and when we should go to use it?
That's a very good question, thank you. So most of the free hostings that people provide are not a server, it's a hosting. It's like they literally are giving you a jail with limited access. They call that a chroot, where inside of it you can put your files, your PHP application, your Perl application. Unfortunately, it's not a server. You cannot consolidate them into multiple parts. You cannot as well run like software like Gitea, which is written in Go, right? So there's a lot of limitations for those. So I personally started with a shared hosting, actually. My first website was on a 300 megabyte shared hosting gifted to me from a friend of mine, and I just was, you know, putting my HTML files in there, and then I needed something more advanced. So I think it was, I think I needed a place to upload and download larger files. So I got a server, and then the server turned into a home server, like a physical laptop in my home. So you can see this evolution happening. You know, like it doesn't have to be static. So the one that I showed today with the Vultr server is the bare minimum. My network in my home now is so complex. I have a server, I have a NAS, I have complicated networking equipment, I have some kind of a UPS, so you might get evolved over time. Unfortunately, it's easier to get evolved around old school technologies than getting evolved around cloud technologies, specifically because sometimes you need to get evolved around cloud technologies because your vendor is like, yeah, we're going to kill you this product now. So there's the problem of that. Okay, anyone else? Any questions? Well, it was very much fun. I'm sorry I couldn't show a whole demo because, you know, this takes long. And if you have any questions, please. How to become rich? Maybe for another day. I'm available on both of these websites, antranig.am and antranig.hi. You can email me anytime you want. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Have a nice Barcamp. The demo went well.